Welcome everyone to the Multichain Nation. Today we have Jazzi from Ripple and James from Axelar. It's great to have you both.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. And right to kick it off, Jazzi, let us know. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you ended up in your position as a lead product manager at Ripple?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So almost my entire career has been in the financial technology space, both a mix of Web 2 as well as Web 3. Way back several careers ago, I started a company in the consumer financial health space trying to digitize financial coaching for young professionals. And then from there, I ended up winding down and joining the product team at a mortgage technology company, still very focused on enabling borrowers and enabling individuals have better access to the financial resources that they need. And then from there, I ended up joining the Ripple X product team, just continuing on that trend of how can we improve finance for everyday people as well as businesses. And from there, I helped scale the Ripple X org from one product manager, one product that we were focused on, to a full product team with multiple product suites, both on the permissioned as well as permission list side. So now leading the institutional DeFi products group. We have a lot of exciting stuff that I look forward to talking about with you.
Awesome. And it's awesome that you came from like traditional finance and just found problems and kind of led into the crypto blockchain world thinking this probably solves a lot of our problems. So thank you for coming here and helping out, because that's what we need more of.
Definitely.
James, let us know about your background in Axelar.
Yeah, so my background comes from the fintech and then the digital media side of the business. I worked at Bloomberg in various kind of sales and operations roles in fintech, and that was my earliest exposure to the digital asset space. A good friend of mine back in 2014, leaving actually to go to BitGo on the custody side. So it's obviously very early, built around the Bitcoin ecosystem and then Ethereum. But certainly caught my interest. And as I made my way through kind of a digital media era of my career, I ended up at Time Magazine, which interestingly enough ended up launching an NFT strategy, Timepieces. And so through that lens, started to spend time in the space, ended up brokering a deal with Galaxy Digital, who ended up doing some sponsored content with Time. And that was really the rabbit hole for me to finally take the leap from being tangential to the space and investing in my own time to realizing that this was an incredibly interesting area that I wanted to devote my full time to. I was introduced through some of those early colleagues in the space, the co-founders of Axelar. And when you hear about what they're building, when you hear about their backgrounds and the perspective that they had about what needed to be built in this next generation of interoperability platforms, it was a no-brainer for me that I wanted to be on this journey with them.
That's awesome. It's just like so important how you realize how powerful this ecosystem is and making that transition. I feel like a lot of people are afraid or they're not sure, but it came so natural to you, like it was an obvious choice. So thank you too for coming on here.
Absolutely.
Jazzi, so we have Ripple and Ripple X. Can you differentiate between the two? Like, how are the businesses different, complementary? How do they work together?
Yeah, good question. So Ripple is what most people think of when they hear, when they hear the name Ripple. The Ripple Net side of the house, which is what it used to be called. Now we typically just refer to it as Ripple. Is the business very focused on cross-border payments and technology solutions that are built on top of blockchain rails and on top of native crypto assets. So that side of the business is really application layer focused, working directly with different merchants and businesses around the world, helping solve cross-border payment needs originally, and now expanding that to additional crypto solutions in the area of custody and having best-in-class solutions for holding crypto assets, and now the stablecoin initiative as well. So continuing to grow the suite of institutional and enterprise grade solutions on top of blockchain rails. So that's all kind of the Ripple side of the house. Ripple X is focused on the infrastructure beneath those applications. So The XRP ledger is the layer one blockchain that we're focused on. It's the layer one blockchain that is the home of the native asset XRP. And that's sort of the base of where all of Ripple's products are built on top of. So RippleX, works on contributing to that core protocol. It is decentralized and open source. So everything that we do goes through consensus in terms of an amendment process on whether or not a new feature is actually desired by the full community. We also run a number of different community growth programs to help to expand the XRP ledger and help fuel some of the early stage projects that are building on top of it. So in summary, RippleX is focused on XRP ledger, the core chain, and Ripple builds crypto-based solutions on top of the XRP ledger.
It's fun how you can build the core and build on top of your own core. It's so much to do in this ecosystem, and there's projects for just making a core product, and then there's projects building on top of core products, but you're doing both, and that's a lot of undertaking. And I know there's a lot of interest in bringing what Ripple and Axelar are doing, their vision together in institutional DeFi. Can you go a little bit more into what are the key elements of your roadmap with Ripple's and Axelar's vision?
Yeah, definitely. And just briefly on your point there, I mean, against popular conception, Ripple doesn't own the XRP ledger, and so we're one builder of many. And so there's other contributors, there's other projects, all kind of working on this shared technology, which makes a really unique experience and more dynamic building experience than a full stack private chain. But yeah, overall, like I mentioned, Ripple's company is very focused on transforming global finance by enabling, secure, scalable, compliant, decentralized financial infrastructure. And there's a couple key pieces in terms of actually, enabling institutional grade finance. And I think the first and foremost, which ties into our partnership with Axelar, is security. So that's probably the number one item that any institution is not going to compromise on. We have to really meet them where they are in terms of very robust ironclad security, which led to our decision to partner with Axelar when it comes to solving for interoperability needs. Second one is usability. So while it's infrastructure protocols, they have to be accessible and also have a good user experience. And so, working with Axelar, having connectivity to so many different chains, and working with applications built on top of Axelar really ties into that accessibility and usability element. And the last I'll flag is value. So how can we create value both for native assets as well as real world assets, and how can DeFi protocols help to unlock those? One example I'm particularly excited about is the Squid protocol built on top of Axelar. That ties into interoperability, but also value. How do we ensure that institutions have access to best in class liquidity by being able to tap into liquidity across all of blockchain? And also really great UX in the process, so they don't have to build their own tech or go to 8 different dexes in order to make a trade. Axelar, Squid, and XRPL together, just bring that all to the user in one nice package.
It's so key, especially now in today's ecosystem where you have different blockchains all trying to do their own thing, but we're still people who want to talk to each other from different areas of the world, different blockchains. It doesn't solve our problem, which is cross communication, interoperability. Thankfully, we have Axelar to solve that for us, and thankfully, Ripple and RippleX and Squid and plenty of other services and platforms can use Axelar. And James, can you shed light a little bit about what was your vision for institutional DeFi with Axelar and the roadmap ahead?
Yeah, I think similar guiding principles, that what we want to bring is security and distribution. Right, those are like the 2 key values that we bring to the institutional space, and the latter being programmability as well. That there are institutional use cases that care about different things, whether it's preserving privacy, whether it's being able to preserve KYB or KYC that has taken place on a specific chain. And the fact that Axelar operates this layer one chain gives us this flexibility of programmability when it comes to bridging and the distribution of these assets. And so these are attractive characteristics that have led us to a good positioning when talking to institutions that have been timid previously about onboarding and tokenizing assets and then using a quote unquote bridge, right, to distribute those. So a lot of it's education from our end, right? Making sure that these institutions understand there's not a one size fits all for for different interoperability protocols, that you really need to go through those rounds of giving them comfort around the decentralization of the Axelar validator set and why this is paramount for different things when you look at like Mika and some of the different regulatory concerns that people have. So from our end, we want to build secure distribution and we want to onboard institutions through education. And when it comes to this specific partnership, we do believe that Axelar needs to be a permissionless, like agnostic player in the space. There are going to be multiple chains that have a role in this end game here. But we do believe, for all the reasons that Jazzi has mentioned, the Ripple business has provided them with a great platform of trust to bring these institutions onto the XRP ledger to tokenize these assets. And now we're just building the next layer for them, which is distribution, access to liquidity and users that exist in the Ethereum world and the Solana world. And if we can then together provide the infrastructure that give these enterprises the confidence to come on more quickly, then we think this could be very successful for both parties involved and all of the ecosystem at Web3 at large.
It's so important that you mentioned security too. I think that's my top issue nowadays, because I remember recently receiving in the mail that my data has been breached from this bank, and I'm just like, well, I'm trusting you with my security and my information. And in the back of my head, of course, as a crypto native, I'm like, crypto solves this. Why are we still doing this? So thank you for thinking about security, and not just for know your customer aspect, but also know your business aspect. Everyone's security is in the line, and just having that safe and then being able to digitize it all, real world assets, digital assets, speaking with different entities that all work together, it's a big undertaking and it's a lot to digest as an institution. So sometimes you do need that extra help from other people like XR and Ripple to really hone in on how impactful it is and how easy it is to onboard nowadays. So Jazzi, I mean, with Ripple alongside XRLP in the community, bringing smart contracts, and then Ripple alongside PureSys, that will bring EVM sidechains. Between those, like, what is the end goal? Can you go a little bit more into detail of both?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess backing up a little bit, the XRP ledger was not built as a Turing complete blockchain. It doesn't have full smart contract programmability, but it can do a lot of the things that smart contract based chains do. It just happens at the protocol level. So the most powerful features of the XRP ledger, like on chain payments, like tokenization, trading on the decentralized exchange, all of those exist at the protocol layer, which we think has a lot of advantages in terms of performance, security, liquidity aggregation. So from my perspective, I won't speak for every builder on the ledger, but I actually prefer that the XRPL DEX is protocol based as opposed to smart contract based. That being said, obviously there's advantages in terms of innovation and in terms of accessibility to have a Turing complete blockchain. We also can't deny the maturity of the Ethereum ecosystem in terms of the number of applications that are already built out. And a lot of these projects, understandably, would rather continue to build on their tech stack than completely start over on another chain. And what we ultimately care about is innovation, progress, improvement and adoption of blockchain technology. And so we want those developers and those projects to have a home within the XRPL ecosystem, even if it's not directly on XRPL mainnet. And so by building on the EVM sidechain, it's sort of best of both worlds. They can deploy their contracts that they've already built and benefit from the security, the longevity of the XRPL, mainnet, as well as the regulatory clarity of the native asset XRP, which will also be the native asset of the EVM sidechain as well, bridged over through Axelar. So we're pretty excited about this. There's a lot of synergies. One last piece I'll mention that I think will be really powerful is, for applications that are building new contracts, not just redeploying old ones, there's also the opportunity for them to build in a very cross-chain manner and leverage Axelar's general message passing to call those smart contracts without having to manually bridge assets themselves. So this will be a big improvement for user experience and usability of blockchain technology for the users themselves, which is another big advantage from my perspective.
Yeah, it's super important to make it easy and accessible for developers to just get on board and not to think so hard into how am I going to make this work for everyone else. They can stay with what they know, what they know best, and keep developing and have a trusted protocol level, something like XR, and have uh, XR Ripple bridge. I mean, sorry, the Ripple ledger, just to really guide them rather than adding other stacks to themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
And you were mentioning using Axelar, so I want to know more about there's dozens of different bridges, interoperability protocols on the market today, and I wanted to know what was your deciding factors that ultimately led you to the choice of going with Axelar.
Yeah, good question. I'd say there's three main pieces, which are security, connectivity, and innovation. So the first one, security, I mentioned that before. When we're focused on institutional grade DeFi, this is probably the number one item that is just not compromisable. And so looking for best in class bridging and interoperability technology from a security standpoint. And Axelar, as far as I know, has never had any sort of hack or breach, and this was super important to us. So this was definitely the number one piece. Second is connectivity. I love the hub and spoke model of Axelar with over 55 blockchains connected, which allows for very easy access. And if you're looking to add another network, it just plugs right into the hub, and you don't have to do chain to chain connections every single time you want to have connectivity to another chain. So EVM sidechain as well as XRPL mainnet will both be connected to the Axelar network, which directly gives access of those chains to all the other 50 or so chains. So very efficient model in terms of interconnectivity to as many blockchains as possible. Last one I'll mention is innovation. So it's very clear that the full Axelar team is very bright, very talented, forward thinking in terms of interoperability technology. General message passing is one thing that I highlighted before. This was a really big advantage from our perspective because now by using GMP, we don't have to force all of our users to actually bridge, and they can still get the advantages of EVM smart contracts, for example. So we're really excited about general message passing and the innovation in blockchain application development that will come from that. And we're also confident that there's going to be a number of other innovations, even the expedition or expedite service as well, that allows for transactions to go through at a faster rate. So really excited to see what else comes down the pipeline on the innovation front as well from Axelar.
That's awesome. James, how did it feel when Ripple and Ripple X came to you saying, we want to work together, we want to build, and you also reaching out to them? Like, what was that vibe like, that feeling when you were Axelar was a proper choice?
Yeah, so we were super excited about it. It felt like a natural fit given where both of us were looking to build. Been leading our trade integrations here for a couple years now, and I think there's a lot of like copy pasta. People love that term in this space, but right, it's like the next EVM chain. And what's the contribution really gonna be to Web3 and broadly, or even to just the Axelar ecosystem? But in this case, like with the Ripple X team, there was something like inherently net new that we were going to be able to unlock by building this. And I think we all knew that it was going to be resource intensive, which is what naturally comes with, right? Like the return on investment is going to be high. You're going to have to invest a lot to see that through. But we were excited. And it took, honestly, I think, probably over a year for us to eventually come to the place that we all had confidence in what the structure kind of looked like, the timeline for us to try to build against this. But as Jazzi now describes, like super succinctly, the interaction, right, between this EVM chain, the XRPL, how they're going to complement each other's limitations, and how Axelar is going to provide this distribution and access to smart contracts and liquidity on other chains. I think like that culminated at the end of many conversations around like what this could look like. And I think when you reach that point that you can say it that succinctly, then we all realize this was a great opportunity ahead of us and an investment worth making. And we are just now like on the precipice of kind of realizing that and shipping this. And I think it's just very exciting. And I'm interested to see, beyond the first couple kind of use cases that we're envisioning, what else can we kind of build together once this is live.
Yep. And then one use case I want to dive deeper into is the real world assets. And I know both of you are focusing on this. James, I want to know a little bit more about what recent developments is XR bringing with XRP Ledger and real world assets.
Yeah, I think if you look at the more like tangible side of it, what's concrete, look at what like Mountain Protocol or Ondo or Midas, some of these issuers are doing with yield-bearing stable coins and how quickly they're recognizing adoption through ecosystems. And similar to what people have seen with Circle, uh, you know, building native USDC on-ramps is difficult. And it's resource intensive. And so what ends up happening is beyond where Circle represents native on-ramping, there are Axelar wrapped, USDC, there are other bridge wrap USDCs, and they're well adopted because there's more demand for these assets than the issuers can necessarily scale. And it becomes complicated when you start working across different VMs. And so you see the same thing with these yield-bearing stablecoins. There's huge demand for them in DeFi across different ecosystems. And those teams have looked to Axelar as a distribution channel for them to be able to move more quickly than they could otherwise to get those assets in the hands of users and applications. And we think if you look at everything that Ripple is doing and where they're strategically positioned around institutions and enterprise, this is going to be a huge opportunity for us to tokenize new real world assets and then distribute them to the rest of those ecosystems that we're working with now. So that's certainly on the very like concrete, tangible side, looking at that. And we're very much interested to see where the larger financial institutional space moves, how quickly they're able to find comfort to really tokenize, certain portfolios of assets. But publicly, you can take a look, look at what JP Morgan did with Project Guardian and take a look at what Deutsche Bank is doing now with Project Guardian. And the work that they're doing with Axelar will be presented in November. So kind of wait for them to share a little bit more about what they're testing in this proof of concept. But this stuff is, we're on the precipice. Like we are finally getting the pieces of infrastructure in that we're really moving forward. And so I think that we're very excited about it. And we think that Ripple can absolutely end up being one of the major hubs that kind of creates that first step that brings on those larger financial institutions to start tokenizing new types of assets.
That's super exciting. Jazzi, I definitely want to hear more of your thoughts about the recent developments with real world assets and XRPL.
Yeah. I mean, very well said by James. I definitely agree and underscore a lot of his points about what's up and coming. We are on the precipice there, so very much aligned with that. Specifically from a Ripple X and XRP Ledger perspective, I can touch on it briefly from both the tech lens as well as partnership lens. On the tech side, we're working on a number of different potential advancements in XRP Ledger technology to better support real world assets. So one example is, a token type made specifically for RWA called multi-purpose tokens that allows for storage of metadata directly with the asset. There's a few other advantages in terms of scalability, flexibility as well, but we're really trying to increase the suitability for the XRP ledger for this use case, to really lower the barrier to entry for these institutions. Axelar as well, integrating with Axelar, having interoperability is obviously essential for institutions from the tech side. And the last piece I'll mention on technology is Ripple custody, which is proving to be a really interesting and sort of logical entry point for a lot of these large institutions in terms of on-chain RWA. The place for institutions to hold their assets, to on-ramp for these assets, ends up fitting in really well with Ripple custody and the product vision there. So we're excited about how that will unfold. Second, shifting away from the technology towards some of our partnerships, we've been very focused on partnering with a number of different real world asset tokenization platforms. So basically the application layer on top of XRP Ledger. So we've recently announced partnerships with Archax as well as Zonix, two different high quality tokenization platforms with really exciting roadmaps and also pipelines in terms of the institutions they're looking to onboard. From a direct issuer perspective, we've recently partnered with Treasury bill issuer called Open Eden. So really excited about that. They're one of the top players in the space. They have a really strong mind around compliance and how they uphold those standards when it comes to tokenizing real world assets. Ripple also announced an initial initial purchase of their assets. So we'll actually have some skin in the game and hold on-chain treasuries on our balance sheet, which I'm particularly excited about. In discussions with a number of others, this is only the beginning, but like James said, we're on the edge and excited to see what's next.
Yeah, it's a lot of building on top of Axelar. So, I mean, as like a development standpoint, what is your experience working with like Interop Labs, Axelar, and deploying on the Axelar network?
Yeah. Good question. I want to flag there's a number of different high quality interoperability players on the XRP ledger. We definitely appreciate what they're building and the technology that they support. Axelar has been, yet another innovative player in interoperability on XRPL, and it's been particularly interesting to us in terms of, the flexibility that the Axelar protocol ultimately has. The way they've built it in such a way that it can support EVM based chains, non EVM based chains. It can support various forms of asset issuances, and a lot of really smart, really deep technical thinking around how each integration and configuration should really work in order to unlock the most potential from every single blockchain, as well as the network as a whole when all the pieces come together. So it's been really powerful working with them and working through those pieces to really optimize the integration overall. And I'm ultimately excited to have this technology available to enable developers to build seamlessly and effectively across multiple different blockchains.
It must be so relieving that you're like jotting off all these needs that we need and how to build, and you just need something to work well for you. And I'm happy that Axar is delivering and able to actually provide the services you need without having to sweat too much, because sometimes you don't want to do the work for the person that you're building on top of at the same time. You're trying to use their platform, use their service, and just use it how it's meant to be. So that's really exciting to hear.
Definitely.
And James, I'm sure you probably have a bunch of projects trying to build on top of Axar, asking a bunch of questions, maybe making it really difficult. So what was your experience with Ripple? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it just a bunch of fun?
No, it's been a it's been a great experience, and I think there are two aspects of it that really come to mind, and one is just working with a team where there's really like complementary value between the two organizations that are working together, right? Like there are a lot of projects that are building in the space, a lot of chains that are popping up in our instance, and I'm sure the Ripple X team is interfacing with a lot of startups. Where let's say like the leverage can kind of be off, right? And so it is refreshing to spend time and attention on a partnership where you really feel like both teams are bringing these complementary pieces of a puzzle that can lead to a lot of adoption and success. I think that creates like an excitement which is necessary to work through hard problems. And I think that we've felt like that over, what is it, almost 6 months to a year that we've been working with the Ripple team on this. They're super competent, skilled across many different functions, many different kind of products, and all of that makes this very fun to work with, right? There is not like a singular product or use case that we are working against here. There are a handful of them, and with each one of them, we need to kind of have considerations, everything from how it's built from a product perspective to how we think about the go-to-market. And the Ripple team has kind of supplied all the right people with the expertise on all of these issues to really brainstorm and put us in a place that I think Jazzi would probably agree. We feel like the product is being built, the right way, and we have confidence that we're going to be able to execute a good go-to-market strategy to recognize adoption across a few different use cases here. I think all of that makes this fun for both sides, and at least for us.
Yeah, and it's definitely a long road ahead where you two have just been honing in on this, getting excited. And I know the users are probably thinking, wow, this sounds amazing. But nothing comes without its challenges and without its like difficulties. And I'm sure you have some headwinds coming up on your way. So what does your team actively think about in between like executing this vision? Jazzi, let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the headwinds, from my perspective, are really twofold. The first I mentioned, before around user experience, and ensuring that we have the right levels of abstraction that are right for whatever the particular user needs. So, for example, for one user, it might be really simple applications that are as easy to use as Twitter. And for another user, it might be really powerful APIs that can embed into their highly sophisticated trading systems. And in reality, crypto and blockchain were founded by, highly technical people for a long time. And so those layers of abstraction have taken some time to be built out. And so Axelar is really, really powerful infrastructure. XRP Ledger is really, really powerful infrastructure, but ultimately it's only as powerful as it is accessible. And so we need to nail exactly how our target users will be able to interact and leverage that technology. So that would be the first piece. I think everyone in crypto is well aware of the challenges there. The second is really around regulation. When we're bringing institutions on chain, and James mentioned Project Guardian. When you have projects like this that's taking either real world assets or native crypto assets and leveraging the power of the different crypto based protocols, we have to keep in mind that there is somewhat of a braking mechanism there, or sort of a speed limit there, which is has regulatory clarity caught up, and none of us that are institutionally focused want to exceed that speed limit, so to speak. So we have to kind of put a little bit of brakes on the potential of crypto and blockchain in order for regulation to catch up. But I think we're making a lot of progress. There's a lot of bright minds working on the regulatory and legal side. So I'm excited for that space to catch up as well.
That is a difficult hurdle for sure. The regulatory side, it's you see the vision, the technology is pretty much there. You're building, but there is still some tape to go over, and it's a big challenge. It's a
Definitely.
big challenge.
We'll get there.
James, let us know what challenges you're facing.
Yeah, I think the two that I had in mind, we'll start with Jazzy nailed it with on the regulatory side, right? Like we can build the infrastructure. It's not necessarily a space where like if you build it, they will come. There are a lot of other factors involved, and so we can complete this work fundamentally, but the adoption part of it is going to come when the institutions have everything else that they need from a regulatory perspective to feel comfortable to start to move on chain. And somewhat of that is out of these two projects' control. So that is definitely a headwind that we're facing. And the other one is from like a product perspective, just seeing this from the business side, watching us build this, you don't know the issues that are going to arise when you're building really kind of cutting edge technology. There is not like the historical precedents for us to build against. And so that can be frustrating. And, you can't just throw more people at some of these issues. There are times that you reach blockers, you need to take a step back and think about the design of it. And all of that, can be frustrating, and they can feel like headwinds towards us actually getting to a place that this is complete. But I think the thoughtfulness that we are all putting into this, the understanding across both organizations that we want to build this the right way, and that may mean that it takes a little bit longer. Um, I think those are positives in the end, but I think in the moment they certainly feel like headwinds when timelines can slide back because of those aspects. But in the end, like I said, we're controlling what we can control. We'll ship the best products that we can. We'll do our best to steward and help against those. But some things are out of our control, and we'll do our best to be there when when the adoption is ready to come on chain.
Yeah, that's the tough part about working in crypto and blockchain, ecosystem is that our minds are moving a mile a minute. Things are growing so fast. I mean, this stuff was not around 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This is still really new, but look how much we've developed and come along in this way. And the fact that, blockchain is something talked about, regulatory aspects and financial aspects, it's here to stay. It's here to keep going, and it's getting the eyes. But I know like there's a lot more to go with it. There's a whole future ahead. And before we leave, I want to ask you guys one more question. Hopefully it'll be fun. I want to know more about the future of crypto. So like we have a bunch of use cases today. Some are limited, but theoretically, what is a use case for blockchain technology that maybe years out, but really excites you? Jazzy, go for it.
Yeah. I don't know if mine is years out or just around the corner. I think it could go either way, honestly. But I would say full integration of real world assets into DeFi protocols. So I think we're not quite there yet, either due to regulation, technology, or just the whether or not demand has caught up. But if there's the ability to even collateralize on-chain T-bills, take out a loan, and use that off-chain. There's a reason why we're tokenizing real-world assets, and tokenizing the assets is not the reason for it, right? The reason we're doing that is to actually use those assets on-chain in protocols. And that's what I'm particularly excited about. I don't think the space has quite caught up yet, but it can be really, really powerful, and will allow us to avoid the opacity, the sluggishness, the fees, the intermediaries that everyone's facing in traditional finance when you're reliant on those rails. So yeah, that's what I'm most looking forward to.
James, what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think two quick answers to this. On the one side, given the side that I came from, being at Time, being on the NFT side, it felt like, a few years ago, we were on the precipice of NFTs being used more regularly in ticketing and in entertainment, and being this kind of way for artists and brands to be able to interact. We really haven't gotten that much further in a few years here. So I think on the just like the consumer side of me, the more that I've learned about the technology, the more I realize how exciting of an idea that is, and that the underlying principles are there. So I'm excited to see kind of where that goes on the adoption cycle. So that's certainly one. I think on the other, from a financial services perspective, the space has talked about giving access to financial services for regions and countries that don't have access. And I can't help, having just grown up like in New York in the United States, there are people that are underserviced in the United States, let alone in like these other countries that we talk about. And it does feel like it's going to be a long path towards, through the US regulatory markets, towards greater adoption. But I do really hope that in my lifetime, we see a place where DeFi is providing like financial services to cohorts in the United States that have been, systemically underrepresented in financial services markets. And I think there's so many steps to getting there, but it's just something that as we build now, it's a vision that I hope to see in my lifetime.
It's you hit that perfectly because as I always say that in America we're pretty lucky we have so many ways to move money around. You go to a different country, it's not that easy sometimes, and also their currency might not be that stable. So that's scary in itself. And being in crypto for a while, we're always in this hodl mentality: hold, 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 just keep your crypto, don't do anything with it. But that's not the point. Like, you want to use it, you want to transfer it around, want to trade things, you want to have NFTs, buy tickets. The unlimited uses need to start happening sooner than later. So I'm excited for that future. And I definitely want to thank both of you for joining me today. Thank you for building, thank you for working on these projects, and thank you for making it more accessible for everybody.
Thanks so much for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having us.